NJ Arts News sat down with Princeton University President Emerita, Dr. Shirley Tilghman, in her office on campus at Princeton's Louis Sigler Institute for Integrative Genomics. She spoke of her efforts to integrate arts into undergraduate life, the civic purpose of higher education, and the need for women's leadership. We began by asking Dr. Tilghman about her own college experience at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario.
If you really want to test whether somebody wants to be a scientist, put them in the lab, and not in a cookbook lab, but in a real research lab. I switched out of chemistry in my senior year of college. Not a good idea to decide that late. The pull was discovering molecular biology. It was reading a paper by two scientists named Matt Meselson and Frank Stahl that established how DNA is replicated. This was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. It was just a glorious experiment. I thought, if I can be in a field that can do experiments like that, that's where I want to be.
During her presidency at Princeton University, Dr. Tilghman led a broad effort to make arts a part of the undergraduate experience for all students. We asked how she persuaded the university community to make this change.
The metaphor that I kept using when I would discuss this with faculty, with trustees, with students, was the incredible synergy that exists in science between theory and experimentation. And when those two are working in close parallel, science just hums. I saw that we were very, very strong in the study of works of art. Mm-hmm. But we had marginalized the experimental part, which is the doing of art. My sense was that if we could get these two working together, we would create the same kind of excitement, electricity that I saw in science. It all came together with Boris Godunov. There was practically no part of the university that wasn't involved in it. The architecture school was doing the sets, the dance department, the dance. Slavic languages was having seminars. The museum was having an exhibition. For me, Boris Godunov was the moment where I said, yes, it works, and it's going to be what we set out to create. The creativity that comes out of the arts is going to spill over to academic work in other fields and to what people decide to do with their lives.
Dr. Tilghman also spoke of a need for civic leadership at all levels and the connections between creativity and the humanities.
What I've often said is the kindergarten teacher who instills lifelong love of learning in her students or his students is every bit as much a leader and a contributing member to society as the President of the United States. For me, the spectrum is very broad. The word has gone out that a degree in the humanities will let you be a waitress or drive a cab. A lot of work at this university has gone into disavowing that view because it's simply not true. It's a myth. It's an urban myth. At Princeton, the humanities are just flourishing. We have a very lively percentage of our student body who are studying in the humanities. When I see a great scholar like Anthony Appia writing books about honor, for example, accessible to everybody and yet contains really deep and thoughtful ideas, that's how the humanities can be relevant to modern life.
Turning our conversation toward the environment, we asked Dr. Tilghman how she would address our most complex global challenges.
I'm going to say something slightly controversial. I think it's going to take women. If you ever saw the study that Nan Cohen did a few years ago on women's leadership at Princeton, one of the really fascinating findings, worrisome on the one hand, fascinating on the other, is that men and women students aspire to leadership pretty much at the same rate at Princeton, but they do so in completely different ways. So if you say, where are the women seeking leadership and achieving it? It's in community service organizations, public service organizations, and the arts. What are the men doing? They're seeking leadership in areas that get a lot of attention. The student government, eating club officers, captains of teams. I can't tell you the last time we had a woman as editor of the Prince. And so I put my hope in all these women who are gravitating to positions of leadership where it is not about resume building and it's not about them. It's about service. Now, I wish it was 50-50. If I had to design the world, I would not have this gender difference. But I think this gender difference is deep, and I don't think we're going to change it with a few little band-aids.
Mm-hmm. Assuming there are more women leaders, what is still needed to ensure healthier, sustainable communities?
You're going to have to put a price on carbon, and that includes raising the price of gasoline to the point where people will change their behavior. So I'm being very pragmatic and saying I think we've put a price on carbon. The Antlinger Center has as one of its key goals to be a convening place for government, industry, and academia, because it's going to be the combination of those three that are going to really make a difference in the long run. And I think everybody involved with climate change, energy, environment at Princeton believes that we are not an ivory tower. We're doing work that is absolutely critical to get out into the public domain. I firmly believe this is the greatest engineering challenge of the 21st century, creating the technologies that are going to be needed to get us past this, profligate burning of fossil fuels. And some of the best projects that this university has done, we have our 10-year sustainability plan that we're marching along and so far hitting our goals. And a lot of the ideas have come from students.
That was Dr. Shirley Tilghman, President Emerita of Princeton University, speaking with NJ Arts News from her office on the Princeton campus as part of the Words Matter radio project. This 5-part series of interviews with higher education leaders in New Jersey was funded in part by a grant from the New Jersey Council for the Humanities. This is Susan Haig with NJ Arts News.